Okay, Mark chapter 10. So we're finishing up. We're getting here down to the end of the parenting series that we've been on since, I don't know, it's been a few months that we've been going through this. Hopefully it's been helpful to you. Hopefully you've found some things within it that you can adjust and improve your parenting and things that you maybe need to be reminded of. I think we probably have this week. Next week, maybe a third, but most likely just this week and next week, and we'll probably wrap up the parenting section. So as we go through the next couple weeks, it's going to be not necessarily a review, but just kind of a reminder of the things we've gone through, wrapping it up, touching on some other specific things, and kind of finishing off. We went through the whole guides last week, or the last week was the last letter of that. So wrapping that up and just kind of reminding us of some high points, and then maybe making some correlations. Since the author of this book was the one that did Love and Respect for the marriage, he has some tie-ins as well for love and respect from the family and your kids, and we've seen that through the teaching up to this point. But Mark chapter 10, verse number 6 is where we're going to go. Read verses 6 through 8, and we've read these verses before and we know them, but verse number 6 says, "But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this cause shall man leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. So then they are no more twain, but one flesh." And we'll read verse 9 too. "What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder." And so obviously we have a very strong marriage verse right here as we talk about parenting. But understanding it, and it's our whole leave, weave, cleave, right, that we did when we did the love and respect for the marriage, is leaving your father and mother, cleaving to one another, and then becoming one. When we get to our parenting and for understanding that the strongest thing in your parenting, the best thing you can do in your parenting is have a strong marriage. Right? That's the best thing you can do for your kids. And the best way you can parent the way God would have you parent is to have your marriage be strong. So we'll talk a little bit about marriage here for a second and then get into some children things. But I just want to reinforce and remind you of your marriage being important, because when children come, it changes your relationship with your spouse because you're busy. Children demand time, children demand attention, children demand everything from you, right? They take it all, especially as they're young, and we happily give, right? But if we're not careful, we will allow it to take away from the marriage relationship, allow a child to become more important and to take preeminence in that relationship versus the relationship we should have with our spouse. So taking these verses here and understanding that is your most important relationship here on this earth is your spouse. Your kids are important, and then me saying that your spouse is the most important doesn't make your kids not important, but they are not as important as your spouse is. And your relationship with your children will benefit if your relationship with your spouse is strong and the way it should be. So how to put your children first is to put your marriage first, really. And I think I jumped a whole slide ahead. It helps if you turn it on. Do you like the slides? It's something to look at. So those are the guides that we went through. And next week we'll probably maybe touch on each one just a little bit to reinforce and remind ourselves. But the goal is to be on the rewarding cycle, not be on the crazing cycle where children need love, right? And parents, what we really need, what we understand now, is we need the respect. And when parents don't get respect from the children, sometimes we act unloving or in a way that can seem unloving to the children, and then they respond in kind by being disrespectful and disobedient. And it starts a merry-go-round of craziness that it requires usually the parent to be the mature one in the relationship and stop that from spinning. So we'll touch on that a little bit more next week. But putting all together, teamwork. So it's a joint effort, right, between you and your spouse, you husbands and wives, to parent the way God would have us parent, to be ambassadors, right? Ambassadors meaning we represent God to our children, and we want to raise them and parent them in the way that God would have us do it, not because of the way we want it. And when we start parenting the way we want, we parent as though we're owners, as though our children belong to us. And then we start doing things based on our emotions and what we want. And ultimately, they belong to the Lord. Your children belong to the Lord. You want to raise them to grow and serve Him someday. And having that mentality and that perspective will change how you approach a lot of situations in your raising of your kids. But in order to put your kids first, the best way you can do that is put your marriage first. Your marriage needs to be strong. You must have a strong marriage if you want to have children who feel loved, children who feel secure, right? And if you want that relationship with your child to be strong and with their future spouse to be strong, they need to see examples of a mom and dad who, not perfect, don't always do everything the right way, but when they do make mistakes, strive to do better and love each other and treat each other in a way that is God-honoring. And when we have that focus, right, as spouses, as a husband and a wife, it will benefit your relationship with your kids. It'll benefit your parenting style. It'll benefit how you parent. So if at any times where you feel like maybe you're struggling with a child or a couple children, or there's things just not going right and just feel off, take a look at your relationship with your spouse at that moment. Right? How are you and your husband getting along? How are you and your wife getting along? What is your relationship with your spouse? And I'm not saying that it will automatically, most likely, be poor, but there may be things that you need to work on. There may be things that you've overlooked or forgot or just took for granted, got complacent in. So I'm not saying that's the reason why your kids might be having a tough time or you might be having a tough time with them, but it's a place you can look to see. And if your marriage is having issues, and if we're honest with each other, we have ups and downs, right, in our marriages. There are days where they're fine. There are days when they're bad. There are days when you just don't talk to each other, and that's okay. Like, that's what you feel like, right? You're like, I didn't talk to her or him all day long, and okay, we didn't fight. Right? No, that's just me. Everyone's just like, what are you talking about? Okay, fine. It's just me. I'll be transparent. That's okay. There are days where things don't go well. You're agitated with each other. Right? I can tell you, I can do many things that agitate Lisa. I don't even have to try. Like, most of the time I don't even know I did them. Right? That's how good I am at it. So it happens. And it's little things that just needle, and then it's just like, just stop it already. And then all of a sudden you're having an hour-long conversation, right? And all these other things come up, and then you're just, bleh, right? We've all been there. And then there's days where things are great, and you're holding hands everywhere, and just, your kids are like, stop, guys, it's gross, Like, those are good days too. And we have all varying degrees of those days, and that's good, and we should have those. But when we have the days where we're like, don't talk to me, I'm annoyed by you, don't let that happen. Go confront it, converse. Overcome those things. Talk about those things, because we are human, and we will do things that cause issues within our marriage. But go back to, if you were here for the Love and Respect series, go back to make sure you are treating your spouse the way they need to be treated, regardless of how they're treating you. Right? So you can't say, well, I'll start doing that once she or he starts doing this, because now you're on the crazy cycle and it's spinning. It's just like a blur. That's how fast you're going. If that's your thought. If your thought is, well, he did this, so I'm not going to do that. You may not even think it in those words, but if those are the actions or the emotions that are coming from you, you're spinning. You're spinning on the crazy cycle, and it's no wonder things are agitated. And that's up to you, and I'm talking to both of us, husbands and wives, it's up to you to change that. In that moment, it's up to you to take the steps that stop that from spinning in that way. That start to make that relationship better. It starts with that. So I won't go through all the love and respect all the way back to the beginning. But putting your marriage first is vital. It's vital for your relationship, because guess what? If the Lord tarries and things go the way life goes, your kids will not be in your home forever. Right? They'll move out. And then they'll be gone, and all of a sudden it'll just be you and him. Or you and her, and you'll be like, do I like you anymore? Who are you? If you're not mom, right? I fall into this trap. Ask your mom. I talked about Lisa as though she's mom now, right? Mom, right? And I'm like, no, she's not my mom, right? But when all the kids are gone, what's that relationship with your spouse now? Has it deteriorated because all the focus has gone from your marriage to the children? And the focus needs to be there. There are responsibility to raise for the Lord, but not at the expense of the focus of your marriage. So work on your marriage. It's the best thing that your kids can have, is a husband and wife that love each other, a mom and dad that love each other. So Leave, Cleave, Weave should be reflected on our parenting style. So the way you parent your children should be as mom and dad are one, right? You can't, and kids do this, you probably did this as a child too. You try to, the parent to ask to get the thing you want, right? Sometimes dad's easier to go on these things and mom's easier to get to say yes on these things. And as you become parents, you understand that. A dad might be a little more merciful in a certain area because it's something he enjoys, and so he's going to be more likely to say yes. So the kid comes to dad, and mom might like something a little different, so she'll be more inclined to say yes. Mom and dad need to be on the same page. It's the teamwork aspect of it. You are one flesh, right? That means you may not always agree, right, on every parenting issue, but you have a solution for every parenting issue, right? And if you don't have a solution, you get together and you figure out a solution. You come to an agreement on how you will handle the issue that comes up with parenting. And that requires the two of you to have a good relationship, because if you're at each other's throats and you're just mad at each other, and if someone's sleeping on the couch, right, you're going to have a hard time coming to parental solutions in those moments, because you can't even come to your own solutions to figure out your own relationship. But now you got to figure out how to handle Johnny or Susie, right? You're going to have problems with that. So you have to have your relationship solved. And leave, cleave, weave. You have to be together. You have to cooperate. You have to co-labor, right, and coordinate. It takes planning. It takes strategy, right? You have to be on the same page when it comes to parenting. And you'll see that start as soon as they're little and they start crawling around. You'll see the opportunities for agreements to divide between mom and dads on how things should be handled with the little ones even that don't even speak yet, right? Mom might be easier on this and dad might be harder on that, or dad might go easier on her than mom will, right? And you have disagreements between your relationship because of how even the little ones that are crawling around are taken care of and or not. Be on the same page, maritally. Be on the same page. You are a team. Treat your marriage and your parenting, and this was part of love and respect as well, as unto the Lord, right? If your marriage is as you're trying to treat your spouse as though you're doing it for the Lord's sake, not for her sake, not for his sake, but because God said to love your wife like Christ loved the church, and to give reverence to your husband as unto the Lord. When we have that mindset, it'll change the way you treat your spouse. And the problem is with me, I forget that. I forget that mindset very quickly, right? I know that. I even get up here and teach it, right, and say that's how it should be, and it's true because that's what God says, and then I'll turn around Monday afternoon and not treat it that way. I won't be a husband as though I'm being a husband as unto the Lord. I'll be a husband as though I'm a husband unto me, and I'll be selfish and require and demand and throw a fit and pout or have attitude when it's not the way I want it, right? Passive aggressive, however you do that, very quickly we can start being husbands and wives as unto us and not as unto the Lord. And so when you're parenting, it needs to be as unto the Lord, and your marriage has to be as unto the Lord. So it must go. Your relationships in your life must go God first, then your marriage, then your kids. It has to go that way. It has to be in that order, even in importance. Right? The most important relationship you have is with your Father, with your Heavenly Father. That is the most important relationship. So if you're struggling with that, if you're struggling to have a relationship with that, it's likely your other relationships will also have issues. You might get through the day, it might be okay, there might be good days, but if you're struggling with a relationship with your Heavenly Father, the other relationships will struggle. And if you're struggling with the relationship with your marriage, your relationship with your children, your ability to co-labor and to be team and to be one is going to be affected. And that, therefore, your children's relationship is going to be affected because your marriage is affected. So it has to be that order. It has to be God first, then your marriage, then your kids. It displays a love and respect relationship between the parents, which makes the children feel loved. Nothing makes kids feel more comfortable or safe and loved than mom and dad who just treat each other right. Right? Not perfect. Again, I'm not saying you have to be correct and perfect every time and never have an argument. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that when your home is a home of mom and dad treat each other right, they take care of each other, it's obvious they love each other, the kids benefit from that home environment. The children understand things about the Lord from an environment where mom and dad are trying to do what God tells them to do and be. And that means you have to be selfless. That's what God tells us to be as husbands and wives, right? To be esteem the other over ourselves. That's hard. We fight against that. Our flesh fights against the esteem your spouse over you, right? Sometimes we treat our friends and strangers better than we treat our spouse because we're familiar with our spouse. We live with them every day. We see their faults and their flaws, and we get complacent and we don't treat our spouse as good as we'll treat a complete stranger, right? We'll hold the door at a gas station for our stranger and let our wife get the door herself. Right? Or we'll be rude to our family, but we'll be way more polite to our friends or to strangers out there. Right? We are to be selfless, esteem each other over ourselves. The best thing a husband and wife can do is love their kids' mom and dad. The best thing you can do for your kids is to love their dad and to treat them right, to be respectful, to be God-honoring in that relationship. The best thing you can do for your kids is to love their mom. Is to show your kids how you love and sacrifice whatever for her, and that she is the most important thing in your life. And you put her on a pedestal, not because she's better, but that's how you treat her. The best thing you do for your kids is to treat their mom that way and to treat their dad that way. It's the best thing you can do. So thinking of that way and thinking on that way that you treat your spouse, that brings us back around to our parenting, pink and blue. So we talked about this with love and respect and how, surprise, just like the Bible says here, male and female, there's two sexes, and they're different. In lots of ways, but they're different, right? Men and women are different. Therefore, boys and girls are also different, okay? So just like in our relationship with our spouse, the same pink and blue differences that exist, and we say we understand them, in quotation marks, right? Even though... Right, we talked about understanding, decoding what your spouse is saying to you because she's talking through pink vision of the world and you hear in blue, and it sometimes just doesn't make sense. Why are you crying? Right? It's fine. And guys move on with things. Girls, they deal with things differently. Guys deal with things differently. It applies to our children. If you have boys and girls, those things apply on a smaller scale to them as well because they are also different. The same pink and blue differences that we understand exist there. Girls need to be loved, right? They need love. Now, we talked about kids needing love, and that's that relationship, parents and kids relationship. They need love. But little girls are girls still. Just like you grew up to be an adult woman and have the love that you need love from your husband, right? They need that social love, to be accepted. Right? That's a bigger deal. Not to say that it isn't a deal with boys. And just to pause for a second, women also need respect, right? It's not that we don't have to respect our wives, and husbands do need love. But the way that we interpret those things is completely different from each other. So that's the kind of thought process when it comes to children. It's not saying girls don't need respect and they're so shallow they just need to be liked. No. The point is they need that security. They need that love, and that's what they desire. And boys, they need respect. They do need love, especially the little boys, right? They need mommy's kisses and loves and hugs and all that too, and they like those things. But as boys grow, they want to be respected. They don't even really know it, but that's what they need. Now think about if their mother is the one that's giving them the respect as like an 8-year-old. How that will bolster his self-confidence, how that will bolster his standing and his understanding of who he is, right? That's our responsibility. I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit. But girls need that love, that like. They need to be social connected. Boys want and need to be respected. Again, of course, they each need each other, the opposite as well. So if we go to the mother-son relationship, okay, now this is by no means to cover everything that can be put here. But we're going to talk a little bit about mother-son relationship and a father-daughter relationship. It's about mom's respect to your son. Now, we went through the guides. We went through instruction, understanding, discipline. All those things apply. And this is not to say treat your boys with respect and don't love them, or that you can't discipline them or you can't teach them. All those, it's complicated. You're a parent. You have to juggle all these things, and it's part of that responsibility. Why being a parent is vital, and it's important to have parents. But it's about, we'll talk about here, your respect towards your son. So talking respect with your son works wonders, no matter the age. Using the word respect, right? Having them understand what respect is. And then as a mother, conveying respect towards them. And showing when you respect their dad, they see that also. Even when a mother will respect the kid's father in front of them, that will make the boy feel more of a boy, if that makes sense. He will feel emboldened by the fact that mom respects dad, and he sees that. When the kids understand that kind of relationship, right, the love and respect part of it, talking respect to a son will do wonders with him. You want your kid to open up to you if he feels closed off, be respectful intentionally towards your son, and you'd be surprised what might happen, just like his dad. You treat his dad with her, so you feel like your husband's walled off and closed off. Start showing some respect intentionally. Like, make it obvious you're showing respect, just like he says, I love you, and does things obvious, showing love to you. Show obvious respect to your husband that's closed off. It'll soften his heart and open him up too. Same thing applies to your child. Telling them you respect them is a great way to show your boy love. He will interpret love from you when you tell him that you respect him. And you can pick anything he does, anything he is. Find opportunities to tell him how you are respectful of the things that he did. Appreciative, maybe, is another way you could put it. That you respect how he responds, how he acts. There are a few things you can do to show that. You can pay attention to what they say. Now, moms and dads, when the kids are mom, dad, daddy, father, right? And it's just like, it becomes a womp, womp. It becomes Charlie Brown, the teacher, but it's your kid talking to you, womp, 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 womp. And you just, you tune it out, right? I've been there. They've said dad 3-4 times, and I did not hear them at all because I've just kind of tuned them out, right? Moms, if you want your child, your boy, to feel respect from you, pay attention to what he says. If he says things to you, listen. Because we all know as boys get older, they become tough or something, and they stop talking as much, especially to mom, right? When they become 15 and 16 years old, they're not telling every little detail how their play date went, right, with their friends, because they don't think of it as a play date. They hung out, and they're not going to tell you everything they talked about. Not because it was bad, but just because they're just not going to tell mommy those things, right? But if you want your child to talk to you and tell you things, listen to them when they're 6. And when they tell you the dumb stuff, right, that you think is dumb as an adult, like I saw this ant, and I ran it over with my monster truck, and its back thorax splurted out, and it was awesome. And then these other ants came, and they started eating they're cannibal ants. And mom's just like, stop, gross. Listen, be interested. Say, wow, show me. And he'll be like, really? Do you want me to show you? All right. And you'll see him light up. And I'm not saying you do that, then by the time he's 16, he'll tell you everything. But it starts an understanding of the relationship that mom is interested in what I think is cool, even though it's really not that cool to adults. But it starts to develop a relationship where he thinks mom is interested in him, and that feels respectful to him. And so when he does grow up to be 16, and you see him hold the door for the elderly lady that's coming into church, or you see him hold the door at Culver's for someone to come in, and you can say, as the mom say, I respect that you did that. And that will mean the world to him at 16. So showing that kind of respect to your son, even at the younger age, will do wonders to your relationship with him. Boys are desperate for respect. I mean, men are desperate for respect. In today's culture, in the world that we live in today, men are they're starving for respect. And they're expected to be or not be, and to take a back seat and all these things, and to step down and then be tough and handle this, but don't let me handle these. Men are floundering for respect. Boys need it just as much, especially in an age, again, where the male is trying to be female. They're told they're unimportant, or they must step aside for a stronger woman because they have to have the preeminence. Men are starving, and so are boys, starving for respect. They should get it at home. And we as parents can develop that relationship with them so that they understand how God wants it to be, how God wants those relationships to be. So just pay attention to what they're saying. This goes back to a love and respect of the husbands too. Just be with them and talk less. Moms want to know. I know, moms want to know what happened today. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And with girls, you'll probably get more of a response in a conversation. Not every time, but more times. Boys, fine. It was fine. It was good. Nothing. I don't know. Those are the answers boys give. Because boys they don't like to talk about it. They just don't. And they just, as they get older, the less to mom. But if you can find an activity that they enjoy and just be with them, just like with your husbands, remember the shoulder to shoulder, right? Go sit in the duck blind with your husband for 6 hours and not talk. He will have the best morning. Not because you didn't talk, but he will be like, that we need to do it more often. We spent so much time together, that was great. And that's how just doing stuff, being together is a highlight for guys. That you want your son to open up, find an activity to do and just do it with him. And don't prod him for information. So how's your heart today? Oh. He'll be like, it's beating. That's, if he's quick, that's what he's going to say. Or he'd be like, what? Fine. My heart's fine. Like, don't prod him for those deep, meaningful conversations that all moms want to have with their sons. And you want to have those. Those are good. Those are connecting moments. But understand your boy is a boy, not a girl. And he operates different. So just do stuff with him. Right? Take him to the park, let him shoot baskets and sit there and watch him. Right? Sit on the bench and comment on what he's doing. Right? Take him fishing. Define the things that he likes to do and do them with him. I mean, I know I might be getting a little here, but if he likes to play video games and you have a time that he likes to play video games, sit on the couch and watch him. What? Moms are saying, I got so many things to do that I don't have time for that. I got laundry, I got dinner, I got to clean this, I got to get ready for that. I cannot sit here and watch my son waste his time playing a video game. Okay, that's true. I'm not telling you to sit there for 4 hours. I'm not telling you to let him play for 4 hours. But I am saying and suggesting just be with him while he's doing something he likes to do and just be there. Don't ask him 20 questions every time he does something. Just hang out with him. Just hang out with your son for a little bit. He will be blown away. And it will change his mind. It'll change his thought process with you as his mom. And I'm thinking a little bit older kids, but even younger kids. They will love it if mom watched them play a video game for a while. Or shoot baskets, or fish, or whatever it is that he likes to do, just spend time with him. That is how you show respect to him. Intentionally speak respect to him. So the doors and hearts that will open when you intentionally speak that respect to them will surprise you. Again, I kind of already said this, but boys are starving for respect. What a great place to learn how a girl someday should treat him. Ladies, you want your boys to grow up and meet a nice lady and to marry a good girl that loves him, right? That loves him for who he is. We say this about dads treating their daughters the right way so they understand how a man should treat a lady. But what a great way for a boy to learn how respect should be given than for his mother to give it to him as he grows. So when he meets that girl that inevitably doesn't do that isn't respectful, that thinks she, walks on water and he should do everything for her, and that's her attitude, he'll see that and be like, he'll say, that doesn't seem right. And it may bring him to be cautious about that relationship. Not to say it'll work out perfectly, not to say that if you do this, everything will be fine, but these are opportunities for you to prepare him to know how it should be, right? No mom wants their boy to grow up and marry the Wicked Witch of the West, right? No mom wants that, to do that with their baby, right? So start showing him how he should be treated. All right, I'm going to get to the next part. So dads and daughters. The best thing you could do, dads, for your daughter is to love their mom, right? Love their mom better than you do now. So wherever you're at, do better. Love your mom and love their mom in a better way, so that it's the best way that you can love your daughter is to love her mom. Being on the crazy cycle with your wife makes your daughter feel like her dad doesn't love her either. Like it will. Again, girls are more sensitive. They see pink. Boys could probably sometimes don't even understand mom and dad are at odds with each other. Girls feel that tension. Girls feel that things just aren't right. And it makes her uneasy. And it makes her look at dad and be like, oh, he's not treating, and she may not even think the words, but seeing dad not treat mom right will make her feel like maybe she's at fault too. And maybe feel like maybe dad doesn't love me either, or as much as maybe I did something wrong. Right? Realize that with all women, how you say something is sometimes more important than what you say. Right? So when you're speaking, conversing with your daughter, how you speak to them, if it's short, curt, like you could say, I love you to your wife, and her be like, well, that didn't feel right. Right? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love you. Totally love you. Love you. She'd be like, oh, so heartfelt. I'm melting with the romanticism here, right? My heart is just a puddle of goo. No, it wasn't heartfelt. It didn't feel real. So when you're talking to your daughter, be real. Be authentic, right? Love her mom. That makes her feel secure. And this is a scientific study. From infancy on, females want to look you in the eyes. There is the first 3 months of baby girl's life, from being born to 3 months, there's a 400% increase in facial and eye contact recognition with girls that just does not exist with boys. At 3 months, 400% increase from the time they start to, when they start looking you in the eye and they start recognizing who you are. A 400% increase between girls that just doesn't exist with boys. Women, and we've talked about this before too with love and respect, the knee-to-knee conversation, the face-to-face conversation, where guys are more shoulder to shoulder, side to side, right? That's how we operate. Women operate in, I've got to see your face. I'll never forget the time, I think it might have been Maddie, but maybe both of them actually, Gemma, driving in a car with just her in the back, and she's telling, blah, 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 talking, dad this, and I'm being a bad dad and just like driving. And she's telling me something, and I'm like, oh, wow, She's like, Dad, turn your head round. Like, she wanted to see my face. She wanted me to look her in the eyes. She knew and felt that I was not paying attention. I was not giving her that connection. Even as a young child, she wanted Dad to turn his head around, to see her, to look in her eye, right? So girls, they like to be looked in the eye. So when you're talking to your daughter, dads, get down on their level. Make eye contact. Don't be doing 10 other things while she's telling you her heart. And again, goes back to the same thing with the boy, telling mom about the ant, right? The girl is going to be telling you about these unicorns and this thing that she drew, and then the princess that she dressed up as, and her shoes that did this, and the dress that was this color, and dads are going, what? Cool. Pink, huh? Oh, right. And just not caring. It's not important to you, but to her, it's vital. And you'll feel like she's just saying one long sentence that lasts like 4 paragraphs. There's no commas, there's no periods, there's no breathing even in this little girl's explanations. And she says the same things 10 times. Get on her level and be interested. Look in her eyes. Engage. Show her that you care. Show her that it's important to you. That is, as a father, that is how you show her love. That's how you give her that security. And it's going to be annoying sometimes. She's going to say things that don't make sense to you. She's going to say things that you don't care about on your level as a 40-some-year-old man, 20-some-year-old man, 30-some-year-old man. You have no desire to know anything about the princesses or the things that she cares about, but she does. So engage. Build that relationship. Show her that you love her. Get in her face in a good way, and let her talk to you. Let her talk to your eyes. Let her know you care by paying attention. A lot of times girls will put value on themselves based on how adults pay attention to what they say and the attention they get from adults. Not in a, look at me, I'm being bad here, pay me attention, but the attention to what they're saying they get. Give them that. And here lastly, don't ask them to suppress their feelings. Girls are more emotional than your boys will be. And they're like women. Women are more emotional. It's not a bad thing. It's just a fact of the way it is. Teach them about their emotions, right? We don't want emotions to control us. And hopefully wives and moms, you know that. You don't want your emotions to rule your life. But they are a bigger part of your life than even men are. We want to teach them how they can be controlled by our emotions. But understand, dads, that they have a sensitive heart. It's okay if they cry. Don't tell them to stop crying. Don't tell them to suppress those things. Don't tell them to, no, you're fine. Button up, put it away, be tough. Let her cry. Let her talk to you and cry. It's tough, dads. Don't get freaked out. Let her cry to you and be there for her. Be her rock when she cries. Sometimes, and guys, if you've been married any amount of time, you know this. Sometimes they just need to cry for a little bit, and then when they're done, they're fine. They can move on. They can have the conversation. It's a way that they can release some of the emotions, and that's not a bad thing. And so husbands, man up. Don't freak out when your wife cries. And when your daughter cries, don't freak out either. Be there for her. Allow her to be herself. Again, teach her, right, how to control and how to be in control of herself, but be there for her. And especially as they grow to be teenagers, you want your teenage daughter to talk to you, dads. You got to give her that attention. And when the things get tough, when she has bad days and it's not anything you would ever cry about, let her cry about it. Let her talk to you. Be happy she's talking to you. Be happy she's unloading that to you as her father. That's going to, again, develop that relationship. And then just always with both boys and girls, they need reassurance. Constant reassurance of your love. Not because they don't know, not because they're not sure, but just a reminder gives them security. A reminder gives them what they need. They need love of mom and dad. And dad, with your daughters especially, I mean, just give them love as much as you can. And we don't do a good enough job. I don't do a good enough job of that, especially as my daughter is now 14 and we're broaching new territory. I have a teenage son, simple, right? Super easy. Teenage daughter, not as easy. Way different, right? And I need to do better at paying more attention and giving her more time. I took her out this week and we didn't talk much, but I let her play on my phone. We went for a shake and went to Walmart, and then she went to McDonald's. I mean, I'm like, okay, you want McDonald's French fries? That's like what? Anything fries? Okay, French fries it is. And we got French fries, and we walked through Walmart, and I need to do more of those things, right? I need to do that more so that as she grows, she can talk to me, and we have the relationship, and she knows that dad cares about her, and that she can bring those things. Those are the things you want to do. Spend time with them. And I'm over, so we will end there.